Hi.
Oh, yeah. You gotta get swifty. You gotta get swifty in here. It's time to get swifty.
This video is brought to you by CyberGameway, with an emphasis on exposing streamers of all types, as well as exploring business relationships with partnered websites and service providers. CyberGameway is the place you want to be for streaming gamers who want that sub bump. To apply for membership or sponsorship, head over to cybergameway.com.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the show. You're watching HMODS. So in the last video, I was working on my desk rig, which I call the Commander because things. And the idea was to upgrade all the tech and modify the case. So everything went to poop. The motherboard didn't work, so it's in the process of getting warrantied. The CPU cable with the CableMods cables that came doesn't fit. And I lost 2 of the hard drives to something, which, given that my workshop has a concrete floor, like, static electricity is a tough sell on me. That being the case, I lost my brand new 8 terabyte and a 6 terabyte that had all my movies and TV shows on it, so whatever. But today we're going to dismantle the case and get to work on modifying it. And this will be interesting because in order to paint this, I have to have some heat to cure the paint, which it's currently January in Wisconsin, and it snowed today. So this will be interesting to say the least. And if everything goes to plan, should be okay. It's going to be interesting with this particular panel because I plan to cut a window into it. And so, as you can see, these fan ports, this one's not so much a problem, but I am going to have to do so much creative cutting with this thing because the top holes on the port are right just about where it fits to the case. So, one idea is that I create a port that just sort of kind of comes across like that, or I could just, cut it and then leave it the way it is. But what I would really like to do is make it so that there are no fan ports. So I'm going to have to get creative with this, and for that we've got the Dremel. So, but first thing is we have to take apart the case. So let's go do that. So, now that I've got it all taken apart, the idea is, and I did decide to cut a hole in this panel, and then what I am going to do with this panel is I'm going to cut a big giant thing on this side right here, and then I'm also going to do the stripe, the N7 stripe with the 5 slits right here on this side. Over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut a big window over here, and then I'm going to mark out the N7. I have to do it in backwards, otherwise it's not going to look right. It's going to look really, really interesting. I haven't decided if I want to put an RGB strip in behind the motherboard panel. I think I will. If I'm going to glaze the N7, then it would probably be best if there's a light behind it. So we'll see. Anyway, time to mark. Let's go. so what I've done is I have cut, lots of cutting. It actually turned out really, really well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean everything off. I managed to get everything off my workstation and clean it all off, so this will be a much better working environment for me today. The inner part of the bay is going to be white, which does mean that the under part of this needs to be white, but this is still going to be black. And the same thing with the outer part of the back panel. But again, this is all going to be white. So this, I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this yet. I might actually just keep it black, which means I'll have to paint the hell out of it. Another idea that I had was chrome. Like they make this sort of mirror-like chrome paint, which I'm thinking of using. I haven't really decided on that yet. The first thing I have to do though is get it all cleaned, get it all masked, and then it is a wonderful summer-winter day in Wisconsin. It is a balmy 38 degrees. So outside we will be doing some painting, and I'll have to bring it right in here real quick to dry because otherwise it's not going to cure right. Winter in Wisconsin. Wonderful stuff. So, the painting of the chassis is done. What I did was I did 2 coats of just regular satin because I didn't have any lacquer, and then I did coats of clear, which turned out weird. I cut this piece open for the AIOs to sort of get at it with easier access, and then when I put the motherboard on it, I noticed that I would have to cut this part as well, because when I put it on there to test, I noticed that the screws were just a little bit over here, so in order to make room for it, it just kind of looks like that, whatever. But what I also noticed is after I applied the clear coat, I got sort of this sort of spider webby effect on some of the parts that I actually kind of like, otherwise I would have just scraped it all off. But what it reminded me of is in Mass Effect 2 and 3, there's sort of he has the main character, Commander Shepard, has these scars on the side of his face that get worse as you know, if you go through more Renegade and stuff. You know, if you continue being an asshole throughout the game, the scars will get worse, and there's like this sort of weird sort of fiery effect underneath it. So I don't mind this, and it actually like kind of looks weird and cool, and I'm a big fan of asymmetrics. So aside from this, which, you know, another issue that I was talking about the other day was the hard drives, because I am keeping the 5 1/4 inch stuff so I can mount a disc drive, but I'm also going to be using that card reader that I showed you that I got off Wish, which I have no problem with. Again, I don't know why everybody's hating on Wish. If you're not an idiot, you can get some good tech off of it, Linus. The issue isn't with that. I am going to keep this mounted to the chassis. The issue is with this. Since the disk drive is mounted way up here on the chassis, I'm pretty sure that the AIO radiator won't fit. So the idea that I had was I'm going to cut the rivets off of this and then cut it all the way down to here. I already have some lines. Cut it all the way down to here, just above 2 hard drive slots, because who uses more than that other than, you know, me until recently. And then reuse some of the metal that I cut off the motherboard panel, and then it'll slide right, oddly enough, it fits really, really well. It'll slide right in there, and then I'll just J&B weld it, and it'll make a nice base. But what I also plan on doing is, I would like to just move it and rivet it back in, but there's no place for me to do that, so I'm gonna have to get some J&B weld and glue it down, which we'll have to do that as well. And so I've got my handy dandy angle grinder, and so we will cut and paint and more painting.
Oh yeah!
So, along with the white montage going on, what I'm going to do is first, something that I learned from Jay's 2 Cents is I'm going to first paint it with chrome paint. It's not the shiniest stuff, so I have to put some white on top of it first. But once this is on top of a bright color, it's nice and shiny. And then after that, I'm going to put some hairspray on it and let it dry. So what that does is you paint over it, and then you can like scratch it off with a wire brush or an SOS pad after you paint the top coat, so it'll look like metal damage, and that'll look pretty cool. So yeah, and then this, all I have to do is wait a couple hours for it to dry, and then I can paint it. And actually what I'll do is I'll grind it down a little bit so it's a bit more even with the bevel line. And you know, I might not. Who knows? If it's dry enough to do that, then I will. But really, the only concern with this is, since you're not really going to see it anyway, it's going to be underneath the shroud. The only concern with this is, as long as it's functional, it's good, and it looks pretty good. So this is going to get painted. This is going to get painted, and yeah, it looks like we're in the money, in the stuff, in the shit. In the wet orifice. I'm gonna grab the airbrush out and just do like a quick spray of white, and then mask it off, and then do a quick spray of red on both panels so you can kind of see through it. And so I had to grab my handy dandy airbrush, which the problem is I always, as many times as I've taken it apart, I always forget how to put it back together. So I always take forever. So what I did was, when I was in the Army, we always did what field stripping drills, which with the M4, the M16, or whatever you were in, I used an M4, we would sit there and take it apart and put it back together for hours and hours and hours. So that's what I did with this. And with that in mind, check this out. Now I've got the stripes masked off, so I'm going to peel the white ones first so I can do the N7 and the white stripes. And then let them dry. I'm going to do really thin coats, and then I'll let them dry, and then I'll mask it off, and then I'll do the red. So yes, sanding, painting, on we go. All we're doing is just, I've mixed it really thin. It's just acrylic paint, some flow aid, and a bunch of water. I want it to be really thin so you can see the RGB behind it. It should really look cool. Once the lights go on in the case, it'll make it all really pop. Same thing with the red. I've already got the red mixed. It's kind of dark, so it will match with the rest of the PC, but it'll give it a little bit more of a dynamic. Forget what parts I sprayed. After this, what I will do is, to prevent more paint from coming off, just seal it with a quick coat of clear,
and we'll make it look battered, but it will be permanent. Oh yeah, that was cool as all hell. Oh yeah, that's so cool looking.
At some point, this is going to go back together, which will be really, really cool because I've been at this for a long time. And I keep adding things to do because that's me. So hopefully at some point I will be like, yeah, okay, let's do this. You know?